Wow, nice to see you all here tonight. Welcome to Peter White Public Library. My name's Marty Acketts, and I'm the Adult Programming Coordinator here for the library. And BG's gonna do all the introductions and everything, but I'm just gonna make you aware of a few things that are upcoming here at Peter White for this month. Let's see, this coming Friday for our docu-cinema matinee, which will be in the Shiras room upstairs this time, we have a documentary called She's Beautiful When She's Angry. It's in honor of Women's History Month, and it actually chronicles the modern women's liberation movement from the 1960s to the present. It's a great documentary. I really encourage anybody who can make it to come to that. And then next week, we have a few really special things happening. On Tuesday night, March 14th at 6:30 p.m., as part of Northern Michigan University's Diversity Common Reader program, we sort of partner with them, and we're going to be showing the film Coda, which won the Best Picture last year for the Oscars. That film centers around a character named Ruby, who's the only hearing member of a deaf family, and she's trying to help save the family's fishing business, but also pursue her passion for music. It's a really great film, so I really encourage anybody that can make that one to come. And next Wednesday, we have authors reading virtually. The author is Colby Cedar-Smith. She's going to be joining us via Zoom, and she wrote the 2022 Michigan notable book, Call Me Athena, which is a novel in verse about the daughter of Greek and French immigrants in Detroit, and it's a really fantastic read. And Colby is just a really super person. I've dealt with her over the last few weeks, and she's really amazing. And we have, don't forget this, the Friends of Peter White Public Library book sale is next week here. So if you're looking for books, this is the place to come. And all the proceeds from that sale benefits the programming here and everything that we do here at the library. So really important. If you're looking to sell books, well, if you want to donate books, that's fine. Yep. You can bring those. We accept donations. If you want to donate to the Friends, you just bring those books up to the circulation desk. Yeah, and they will put them out there and try to sell them to benefit us here. So a couple other things I will let you know about. The Knockabouts in concert for St. Patrick's Day. It's not going to be on St. Patrick's Day, but it's going to be March 20th. They're going to be here in the community room at 7 p.m. And then at the end of the month, I'll just do one more. For Blockbusting Cinema, we're going to be showing Everything Everywhere All at Once. And that is going to be Friday, March 24th, right here in the community room. If you haven't seen that movie, you should. It's really fantastic. So I'm going to turn things over to our host for this evening, B.G. Bradley.
Hi, everybody. Well, it's time again for Northwords in Music with two-time UP Poet Laureate Marty Acketts. Singer-songwriter Steve Hooper, also known as Under This Cold Sky. Our favorite actress, Jackie Love. And featuring our musical guest tonight, Marquette Arts Educator of the Year, NMU's own Barbara Rainier. And our tribute to Ireland, written by Elizabeth Bennet, my sister, not the Jane Austen character. And me, the old storyteller, B.G. Bradley. Our show is brought to you tonight by Peter White Public Library, the Friends of Peter White Public Library, and the Carol Paul Memorial Trust. At the conclusion of the show, there are books and CDs in the back of the room. Support your local arts community. We're going to start you off tonight with a poem that Marty and I wrote together for just this occasion, and it is called Green Dreams.
I dreamed green dreams last night in a world of Ansel Adams, black and white.
Vibrant life, edging gray cliffs, working silver waterfalls, curling into mint metaphors, jade curlicues, sounding joyful lime alarms.
This is what we do when the world is white palimpsest trees, houses, streets, rivers.
We dream green, murmur, shout, incite in ripe emerald letters curling around our complacencies.
Are we sailing through this Arctic scape toward this distant vision?
Yes, brother. Oh, we will arrive in the real green, and our waking eyes will know the end of monochrome snow.
This is not a dream deferred, but a dream assured.
Thank you. The next person we're going to call up to the stage is my former student and my current fellow performer, Steve Hooper, who's going to absolutely delight you with some great music.
All right. Well, as we were rehearsing this show, I kind of saw in my, very simple way of seeing things, two different themes kind of running through tonight. There's kind of a lot you're going to hear about kind of the promise of spring, as you just did, and all of the different metaphors that can go with that. But also, there's a tribute to Ireland, as BG mentioned. So I'm going to play two songs. One of them kind of deals with the former, and the second one is going to be. I don't think the song really. I don't know if it originated in Ireland or Scotland or England or where it originated. I think that's disputed. But I'm going to play a folk song then too. So this first one, this is mine. This is called "Before You and I Moved Away." We knew that fires weren't allowed on the beach, but amidst the lingering snow, I guess we disregarded those signs. I remember how we took a drive, talking and planning at the taco shop downtown that Tuesday night. And it was cold for most of May. I didn't exactly mind, though I'd hoped we'd see the summer before you and I moved away. I guess each new season comes with its own price to pay. We ended up out at Lake Michigami, and 20 miles west of town. No lights of town for miles around, but a few neighboring cabins. and together both old, the friends and new. Over KBC and Founders, a blazing bonfire and a barbecue. We scooped up ice from the lake, and its form so pristine, frozen facets crystalline and so easily shattered. In the end, my friend, it's the company you keep that really matters. Thank you. We'll just pretend that's what I meant to do at the end. All right, we're gonna give this a shot. So I was trying to figure out where this song originated, and I don't know if that's certain. I think each country has its own unique versions of it. I know it goes back a ways, at least to the 17th century. Kind of tells a timeless tale of a prodigal son. And so if you know the chorus, please feel welcome to sing along with me. Well, I've been a wild rover for many a year. I spent all my money on whiskey and beer. Now I'm returning with gold in great store, and I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, they never no more. I went into an alehouse I used to frequent. I told the landlady me money was spent. I asked her for credit, she answered me nay. Such custom as yours I could have any day. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, nay, never, no more. I took out of me pocket 10 sovereigns bright, and the landlady's eyes opened wide with delight. She said, I have whiskey and wines on the best. The words that I told you were only in jest. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, nay, never, no more. I'll go home to my parents, confess what I've done, ask them to pardon their prodigal son. And when they've caressed me as oft times before, I never will play the wild rover no more. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. Let's sing it one more time. And it's no, nay, never, no, nay, never, no more will I play the wild rover. No, never, no more. There's your folk song for the evening. Thank you. All right, well, welcome back up, B.G. Bradley.
Okay, I'm going to start with a poem that's about my grandmother, who was a little old Irish lady down in Gladwin County who worked at the dress shop. It's called Reader. Can you feel the streams coming back together? I think I can. I think I can hear my grandmother's voice, too. Sweet lady spinning the teacup and reading the leaves, telling artless fortunes in a voice that had the faintest lilt to Ireland, inherited from generations of Sherlocks who had held the native soil and traveled the green world, even the frozen wastes, all the way to Nunavut. I think I can hear that voice of the little dress shop lady, Grandma, reading the tea leaves. I don't remember the words. I'm not sure the words mattered all that much. There was a spark in her eyes, and she could be funny, very funny, droll, I suppose you would say. Dry as the famine bones, humor sprung from the famine bones, like all Irish humor. I think I feel the streams coming back together. Maybe that's because what is Irish in me, which isn't much at this point, was inherited from her. And she liked to see the streams in confluence, everyone sitting down to table, everyone eating and laughing. I would run down the street to her house near the park, and she would make me popcorn, give me an Eskimo pie, and that spark would be in her eyes, and she'd weather some hard light and hailstones. She'd seen the rough of things. She'd prefer a blending. She advocated for blending. And she laughed to force a laugh from her boys and her rough husband. And she read the tea leaves, though I don't remember the exact words, so I don't know my fortune. But I do feel the streams coming back together, and I have hope, because Grandma did. And this next one is called Playing It Out. Scene 1. The old guy rises, fully awake. The young dog is waiting in the upstairs hall. Down the stairs. He switches the coffee maker on in the kitchen, quickly to the back door. Out into the snow go the old dog who was waiting by the wood stove, and the young dog who was always following all the daily procedures in precise order. The old guy puts the dog food dishes down and sets them out just so, lets the dogs back in and they eat. He goes back upstairs to the waiting blank papers. A poem to write. Poem to write. Scene 2. Long, open plain, former forest. now cut low beneath the railroad grade. Stone hills slowly turning white with the new snow. Scattered fir trees still stand. The old guy and the dogs wander along, turn back at a certain point, parallel the train tracks a while. He is wrapped in a mad bomber hat, 2 overcoats, big mittens and boots. He carries an old ski pole so he doesn't fall on the ice slicks. There are deer legs hidden in the brush that the dogs always find. The old guy is thinking about something long and melodious. If you stopped him in the middle, he couldn't tell you what it was. The dogs wander far. He calls them back. They find a trail under the power line and walk slowly along it home. Scene 3. The old guy in an armchair with a book on his lap, jazz music playing. Sounds of his wife working in the kitchen. Wonderful smells coming from there. He is reading but looks up now and then and says something to the sound of his invisible wife. The clatter in the kitchen stops. He can't hear her response because he's going deaf. Gives up, but he's smiling anyway just to hear her voice. Scene 4. The old guy is sleeping in his chair. The only sunlight of the day is coming in through the window. His wife passes the chair on her way upstairs to see about some lost item. She stops, adjusts the blanket over him, goes on. The dogs are asleep too near his feet. The jazz is still playing. Thank you. And this next one takes us back to Ireland one more time. It's called Irish Heart. We watch from here on this island world, just minding our crops, keeping a weather eye towards the sheep while the world turned red, and you all rushed by a gabbling of gibberish and flame. Oh, that's just a shame, I said to the sky, and some of the others nodded. And we could all still hear the distant intermittent roars, but we had simple work to do. Years later, or maybe seconds, hours, eons, all the same, really. You stop back with tears in your eyes. It would have been rude, even heartless, to laugh, but I nearly did anyway. Then remembered my ancestral manners. I placed my hands on your shoulders. Do you remember? Then I said, no. What did you expect then, boy? You nodded. But then you walked slowly away, back to that world you were making. Ah, the curse of seeing things clearly. And now we're going to call up to the stage our special guest musician tonight. I'm so excited that she's here. Yesterday was kind of my Barb Rainier day. I was traveling in for this rehearsal, and I was listening to NPR, and Barb was on the radio like 3 times. She was playing music, and then there was a children's concert that the NMU symphony was doing, and she was explaining everything, and I thought, there's a good teacher. And, you know, it just was terrific just to hear her as preparation for then meeting her really for the first time. And then to hear her music played live is just remarkable. So anyway, give a warm welcome to NMU's own, Dr. Barb Rainier.
Thanks for the really nice introduction. I'm going to play really 4 tunes, and I'm going to string them along in a little set. And what they are, they're called reels. They're little dances in kind of 2 beats. And I'm going to see if I can remember the names of them. Let's do a little test here. The first one's called Silver Spear, and the next one's called Tarbolton. Don't ask me what that is. I should know, but I don't. And then Coolies reel, and then Scholars reel. And I'm just going to string them along and play it from beginning to end, and we'll see what happens. right, thank you. And on to the next.
Okay, we're going to call back up to the stage again my friend, Marty Yackets. And I always get a kick out of Marty just before these shows because Marty is, oh my God, he's doing so many things all the time. And I am now retired, so I'm just looking back at remembering what that was like. But I mean, the things that he has on his plate every day just boggle my mind. And then just before shows, then Marty has about 5 different hats that he's wearing. Okay, he's going to have to perform, he knows, in a few minutes, but then he's got to give the announcements at the beginning, and then he's got 6 or 7 other things that he's got to take care of at the library and at college and everything else. And oh my God, I'm so glad to be retired every time I think of that. But among other things, Marty just happens to be just one of the most gifted poets that I have ever known in my entire life. So let's call back to the stage my favorite Marty Yackets.
Thank you, BG. Boy, he really knows how to make me feel tired. Let's give Barb another hand. That was amazing. It was amazing. So, first, we're at this time of the year where every Youper or anybody that's lived in the UP for any length of time knows that one day you wake up and it feels like spring, right? The icicles are dripping and the sun is out and it's gorgeous and there's mud everywhere. And then the very next day, we had this week, right? The very next day, the snow comes in and suddenly you're back in winter again, right? And so this made me think when I was thinking about what I was going to share in the show tonight of a little essay that I wrote several years ago, and it's called "The Whiteness of Water," and it was a little thing that I wrote for a former professor of mine who called me up and asked me to do it. So this is about the whiteness of water, and it's about that time that every Youper knows where you're thinking that you're out of the winter and spring is here, and we just keep on going back and forth and back and forth. So anyway, this is the whiteness of water. Herman Melville wrote, "It is for these reasons that there is such a dumb blankness, full of meaning in a wide landscape of snows, a colorless all color of atheism from which we shrink. I sit down to write these lines in the morning following the first snowstorm of winter. 1 week after All Souls Day, a comma of Arctic air swooped across Lake Superior, gathered shrapnel of wave crash and foam, baptized my little portion of the Upper Peninsula with dunes of white. It happens every year, and yet I still stand on my front porch, stunned by those first blind crests and titles, a Winslow Homer seascape of ice and snow. In the 1880s, anthropologist Franz Boas, traveling through the tundra of northern Canada, noted an ocean of terms used by indigenous people to describe the whiteness. Researchers have debated his claim ever since, but recent studies of Inuit, Yupik, and Icelandic dialects have identified some 163 terms for snow and ice, made up of root words and suffixes. Linguist Willem LaRue says, "These people need to know whether ice is fit to walk on or whether you will sink through. This language is a matter of life and death." A frozen lake is not frozen. Beneath the white lid of winter, it continues to breathe and groan, strain, and stretch. I sat in a friend's ice shanty on Lake Independence one January night. Cold stars Swiss cheesed the heavens, and a fuse of wind sizzled across the whiteness, driving pellets of snow against the shanty walls. Slush skimmed the fishing hole, shrugged over the lip of ice. Below, my hook dangled in a black jello of lake as I listened. The snow and ice and water were singing. Otherworldly music, blue whales duetting in the Atlantic, meteors whistling through atmospheres, penguins or aliens or angels giving thanks under green fingers of aurora. It was a conversation of states, solid, talking to liquid, talking to solid, in a language older than Inuit or Yupik, a glacial language of endings and beginnings. Here's an abridged list of English snow terms from the Farmer's Almanac. Barshan, corn snow, cornice, dendrite, finger drift, fern, grapple, ground blizzard, hominy snow, penitence, pillow drift, rime snow, my favorite, snert, snowburst, sun caps, whiteout. Drive to Lake Superior just before sunrise in February. Make sure the sky is empty of everything but stars and moon. Park near Little Presque, just as a rib of light crowns the horizon. Get out of your car. Stand. Listen. You will hear a distant rushing sound like a herd of sleeping mammoths, breathing thunder in unison. In, out, in, out. Follow that sound. It won't be easy going. You'll encounter boulders of ice, 5-foot drifts of snow sheathed in thick rime, polar faults that trap feet and legs. If you aren't careful, you may end up slogging through thigh-deep plains of not quite snow and not quite ice. But keep moving toward the sound. Light will crawl into the heavens as you walk, and you'll be tempted to pause, watch. Don't. You'll miss the main attraction because of the opening act. Forward. Go forward. Judge for yourself when you're close enough to the big waters. You should be able to see the lake fully without distraction of trees or piled snows. Be careful not to go too far out. Waves and currents are still moving beneath the ice. You may sink through. This is life or death. Once you have found this spot, stand there. Breathe with the water. In, out, in, out. Don't take out your phone to mediate the moment. No video, no pictures. Just watch. Mix light with water, and the result is Monet. Purples, greens, pinks, smeared together like sidewalk chalk after rain. Mix light with water and snow and ice, and the result is clearer, harder. A Byzantine landscape of glass shards. Whites, greens, blues, reds, pieced together into the geometric face of something divine. Jonah swallowed by the Leviathan. Christ strolling across the Sea of Galilee. Thoreau chopping wood by Walden Pond. Whiteness gives way to meaning. In April, I stand by my kitchen window, watch the world melt. A fang of ice hangs from the eave of the roof. As the sun strikes it, it begins to sweat, drops steady as a clock's second hand. Soon there will be slush, then mud, then green. The dumb blankness of December and January flows with this promise of becoming. It is the language of water. Thank you.
My name is Michael Murray, and according to the records, I died in 1892. Which leaves you with a couple of questions to ponder. Either I'm a ghost, or I'm a figment of your imagination. But you don't have to figure that out now. You can decide later, maybe over a couple of pints at the pub. But enough of that nonsense. The author of our little Irish tribute tonight, one Elizabeth Bennett, did not send me up here to tell you jokes. She sent me to tell you some tales of the famine. The great Irish potato famine of 1845 to 1850. In County Cork, men cried like wee lads, lifting black potatoes from the earth. They sprinkled them with holy water, buried them with Catholic medals of Christ and his saints. And in Skibbereen, well, in Skibbereen, to this day, the people still sing this song. Oh, Father dear, I oft times hear you speak of Erin's Isle. Her grass is green, her lofty seas, her mountains rude and white. They say it is a lovely land wherein the prince might dwell. Oh, why did you abandon it? The reason do me tell. Oh, son, I loved our native land with energy and pride, until the blight fell o'er me crops, my sheep, my cattle died. The rent and taxes were too high, I could not them redeem. And that's the cruel reason why I left old Skibbereen. 'Tis long I will remember 'twas a bleak November day. The landlord and the sheriff came to drive us all away. They burned our houses to the ground in their cursed English fleet. And that's another reason why I left old Skibbereen. Your mother too, God rest her soul, fell on the stony ground. She fainted in her anguish at the desolation round. She could not live, but passed away from life to immortal dreams. You found a quiet grave, me boy, in the abbey near Skibbereen. And you were only 2 years old, and feeble was your frame. I could not leave you with me friends, for you bore your father's name. I wrapped you in me coat more in the dead of night unseen. I heaved a sigh and bid goodbye to dear old Skibbereen. I heaved a sigh and bid goodbye to dear old Skibbereen. A million Irish people died in the famine of 1845 to 1850. And then a million more left Ireland. For all we had left there in our homeland were poorhouses infested with disease to lay down our weary heads and our children's lives. And that is when myself, Michael Murray, and my wife Ellen, and our wee Peter left for America. And that is how we came to be in this Irish town. But there are other tales of the famine as well. And our favorite actress, Jackie Love, is going to tell us a few of those.
My name is Susan Conley. My friend Kate tells a marvelous tale about the Kennedys, but not all of us Irish could afford a US passage. 'Twas much cheaper to sail to Canada, but because she was yet a British land, she forced upon the suffering Irish yet another bout of man's inhumanity to man. As I speak these words to you, rising out of the St. Lawrence River like a pulpit is a 50-foot Celtic cross, remembering for all times the mass gravesite of 20,000 Irish immigrants. In part, it reads, "Children of the Gael died in their thousands on this island. God save Ireland." 30,000 Irish contracted typhus on their voyage across the Atlantic and in the quarantine station at Belle Isle. 20,000 died. 5,000 at sea, 8,000 in Quebec, and 7,000 in Montreal. One doctor cared for 2,000 patients who stayed in naught but sheds. In the harbour area, ye could see people starving, people shivering, people soiling themselves, people oozing with sores, people weeping, people vomiting, people calling out for death to take them. One tale remembers 2 wee lads, brothers, trying to drown each other in the St. Lawrence after watching the rest of their family die on Belle Isle. They were alone in the world. So many souls lost in Ireland, on the Atlantic, in Canada. How thankful Fergus and I were to join our Irish town community and to clear the land for our farms and our precious St. Patrick's Church.
And here's yet another tale.
Catherine Battle is me name. Me Roger was but a lad of 10 when his family crossed the Atlantic. We're the youngest of the founding parents of Irish Town, so I cannot tell you about the suffering of the Irish with the depth of passion that me older friends can. But I can tell you about the land. For I remember sitting on me dad's knee, his eyes flashing as he told the sad stories of his father and his father before him, who never were able to call even a wee garden of turnips their own. 'Twas medieval system, and the landlords were absent except to collect their rent, lived like great barons, and were hard of hearing when it came to listening to their tenants' problems and the woes of the black potatoes. Ye may have heard of the great Battle of Boyne in 1690, when William of Orange defeated our fierce brigade of Catholic lads. To stop the Irish, he enacted the penal laws, forbidding us to vote, hold office, provide our children with a Catholic education, and even to own our own land. The famine only made things worse, because when we were starving and could not pay our rent, our landlords evicted us and burned down our cottages. To own our own land. That's what America offered us. Only a dream to our fathers. Land. Our own land. When Michigan gave us that chance, we rushed to this very place, each of us staking a claim for 160 acres. And now, all the magnificent land you see lying before us is ours. The government wanted us to take care of it for 18 months, and then it was ours at 50 cents per acre. Our own land. And the land ye stand on here, the land on which we will be buried under, me husband Roger and myself were proud to donate to the Irish town community in order to build St. Patrick Church.
But we don't want to leave you thinking that the Irish only ever write about the dark times and sing about the dark times. There's plenty of joy, too, in Irish literature and music both. Like this song, one of our favorites, The Star of the County Down. Near Bambridge town in the county down, one morning last July, through a boring rain came a sweet Colleen, and she smiled as she passed me by. She looked so sweet from her two bare feet to the shade of her nut-brown hair. Such a coaxing elf, sure I shook myself for to see she was really there. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. As she onward sped, sure I shook my head, and I looked with a feeling rare. And I says I, to a passer-by who's a maid with a nut-brown hair. He smiled at me, and he says he, that's a gem of Ireland's crown. Young Rosie McCann from the banks of the Bann, she's the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. At the harvest fair she'll be surely there, and I'll dress in my Sunday clothes, with my shoes shone bright and my hat cocked right, for a smile from a nut-brown rose. No pipe I'll smoke, no horse I'll yoke, till my plough turns rust-colored brown, and a blushing bride by my own fireside sits the star of the county down. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. From Bantry Bay down to Derry Quay, and from Galway to Dublin town, no maid I've seen like the fair Colleen that I met in the county down. And now back to me favorite Marty for more Northwords and music.
So I have a confession to make. I told them this yesterday during rehearsal. I have no Irish in me whatsoever. I'm ashamed to say tonight that I'm half German and half English. So, yeah. And so I don't have many poems that talk about Ireland at all. But I did dig up a few that have some sort of Irish flavor to them. This first one that I'm going to share with you is dedicated to a really amazing young man, nephew of a friend of mine who passed away. He was a young man who suffered greatly, had lots of health problems, and one of the things that he loved was hockey. He loved hockey. So this particular poem is called Goal, and it's dedicated to Darren. After 40 days of starving himself, eating only prayer and sin, Patrick chased all the snakes into the sea, became saint, hero celebrated with borealis rivers, parades more emerald than the lion of Zambia. Greeks lifted their heroes to the heavens, Hercules, Perseus, Andromeda, Ganymede, Callisto. People who were more than people, not bound by root or rock or gravity, who seemed to fly, not walk, so bright they were hard to look at. And what about you, dear boy, with your impossible smile, eyes like twin lighthouses on the shores of your face? Where are you now? Where have you been lifted? We tilt our chins up, follow the moon as it zambonis into the milky night, past Jupiter and Saturn, the cold cross of the north, the Ursas. That's where we'll find you, no longer checked by unruly muscle or lungs, charging those old Greeks, deking, dangling through Perseids, raising your stick, slapping that puck across the black ice of the universe. We'll watch that piece of rubber soar into the net of the beyond. Watch as choirs of angels flood the starry, starry rink, chanting your hosannas, carrying you home on the tips of their feathered shoulders. Thank you. So again, I get really disappointed when I think I'm in spring and snow returns, and it happens so often, March and April, even in May. Hopefully not in June, but it happens, right? So this poem is a spring poem because that's what I'm hanging on to tonight. It's called The Art of Growth. A co-worker carries her granddaughter around the office, showing off her dark curls and serious eyes. I am amazed how much the child has grown. Size her up like a blue ribbon squash. The last time I saw her, she fit into the fold of my arm, a mitten of sleep. Now, in this thick June, she is all height and weight, a moving field of sprout and fruit. My coworker knows the art of growth, the moisture and heat it needs, the cycles of sowing and reaping. With her daughter, she kneads manure into black earth thick with cow smell, watches her granddaughter plow dirt with her fingers. I wonder if she is ever astonished by the size of her roses, the yellows of her daylilies. I wonder if she ever listens to her garden at night, the way I listen to my daughter stretch and grow in the dark. Thank you. So my last two poems, I have to say, I'm in the minority on the stage tonight. Okay? And I'm going to show you why I'm in the minority on the stage tonight. Okay? So, the next two poems are a celebration of baldness. Okay? Thank you. Yes. And the first poem is called Bald, a Definition. Okay. Bald, a definition. Adjective. 1. Simple. Plain. My dad eating a meatloaf sandwich. 2. Without covering. Naked. As in a cornfield after harvest, or my head in need of extra sunscreen. 3. Little or no sole on a shoe, grip on a tire. My sister in her hospital bed, her breath slipping out from under her. 4. Right under one's nose. Ham on Christmas morning, car keys left in the refrigerator. I know you've all done it. 5. Often mistaken for bold. A mouse stealing food from my dog's bowl as I watch. A neighbor's Labrador crapping on my lawn. 6. The sky last night, cloudless, buckshot with stars. 7. A horse's face, drifted with snow. 8. Soaring, lofty, eagle wings batting the cue ball sun toward the corner pocket of dusk. All right, now, thank you. Here we go. This poem is called Ode to My Bald Head. A dome sits atop my eyes. It flashes in the sun like Moses on the mountaintop with Elijah and Christ, like St. Patrick's furious staff driving serpents into the sea. If I am out in public and the day is bright, my head blinds drivers, signals passing airplanes of my presence. It is concave, convex, rests on a pillow at night like some precious lost sculpture by Michelangelo. Reflection of poetry or writer at rest. It has been mistaken for the skull of a pope, a Starfleet captain, Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now. This crown of skin, taut as a birch bark canoe, has seen the dawn of humankind on the Serengeti, Ice Age, eruption of Pompeii. Someday it will be unearthed in the Valley of the Kings, entombed in a pyramid built in its honor. Dome of Ra, of Zeus, of Yahweh. It will crash into flames, be mistaken for the burning bush, Bethlehem star, and people will sing to it. Mine eyes have seen the glory. Hallelujah, glory, hallelujah. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm supposed to follow that, right? Well, I'm going to tell you a little story. And this story is dedicated to everybody in the audience who has a bullheaded husband. The apple tree fell in our yard during 1 week last fall while I'd been away at camp. And as soon as I came back and saw that tree lying down over the lawn that I'd been working so hard to cut all summer long, I looked at that apple tree, the one trunk that had fallen, still another survived. and I felt a need. I felt a real need. That apple tree had to be moved off my lawn onto the extra lot where all the extra wood goes. But it was a big tree. It was a very big tree. But I'm a big man. And I'm 64 years old. And I could lift that tree. And I looked out the window at the tree, and my two dogs, Tom Sawyer and Samwise, were looking out the window, too, wondering what it was that I was staring at. And I stood up and started to walk towards the back door, and my dear wife looked at me and said, "Hon, where are you going?" And I said, "I'm going to move that tree off my lawn." And she said, "Oh." And I started to walk outside, and I noticed that she was following me. And I thought, well, maybe she's got some chores of her own that she needs to take care of. I walked over across the lawn towards where the tree was sitting, and I found I had a shadow. And I said, "Why are you following me?" And she looked at me and she said, "Just to see." And I walked over towards the tree and I looked at it, and it seemed somewhat bigger than it appeared inside. But here she was, the love of my life, my girlfriend since I was 22 years old. Was I going to let her down? I looked at that tree and I thought, no, by God, you're moving to the extra lot. And I walked over and I bent down and bent my knees. I had learned at least that much from my chiropractor. And reached underneath that tree and got myself a really good grip. And just then I heard my wife say, "No." And it echoed in my head, almost like it does on television. "No." And I reached down, grabbed a tight grip, and I lifted. And then I felt it. Right here. And it made a sound, which I'm sure wasn't this loud, but it was loud enough for me to hear. And I stood with the tree in my arms and walked with the love of my life watching towards the extra lot and dropped it and turned and smiled at her through my pain and walked back to the house. Now, here's where the bullheadedness comes in. The next day I was due to go back to camp, and I thought what I should really do is take a day, go in and see the chiropractor, get my back fixed, and then go to camp. But it was good hunting weather. It was great duck hunting weather, and what was I going to miss if I didn't go to camp the next day? And all night long I lay there in bed with the pain starting to surge in my right lower back, thinking to myself, should I go to the doctor? Should I go to camp? Should I go to the doctor? Should I go to the camp? Well, my wife has a bullheaded husband, and so, of course, I went to camp. Now, here is the thing. It wasn't so bad when I was just walking around. The pain was at a bare minimum. But it was the time between standing and sitting when the pain was a problem. So, with my wife watching, I had to get into my truck, which I had loaded myself, bad back at all, and sit down in the driver's seat without her noticing the look on my face. And so I waited for it to come, and it came, and I sat, and I started up the truck, and I waved goodbye, and drove off 3 hours through the woods to camp. And when I got to camp, I thought that somehow my back would be magically healed. It was not. And that night, I lay down in my bed with my 2 dogs sitting near me, looking at me and asking, "Are you okay? Are we hunting in the morning?" Yes, we were hunting in the morning. And I got up the next morning, and just before I got up out of the bed, I thought to myself, okay, be ready for the time between lying down and standing up. And I girded myself and stood up, and there it was again. And I walked out and got into my hunting clothes somehow, even shouldered my gun, went down to my canoe, and paddled for an hour and a half to my duck blind. And the worst part was, of course, sitting down in the boat. And there was that sound, which I won't do again, just as I sat. And then, after paddling to the blind, I got out of the canoe, waited for the pain between sitting and standing again, felt it, got into the blind, and then had to sit down, face the pain one more time, and sat there hoping to God that no ducks came by so that I would have to stand up. This went on for 5 days. Finally, I took to sleeping on the floor, which interested my 2 dogs a great deal. They came over, looked at, "We're sleeping on the floor tonight, eh, Dad? Okay, let's do it." And they were great company for me all night long. But one night, about the 4th night in, I swear, I don't think this was a dream. My older dog, the wise one, Tom Sawyer, I swear to God, looked at me and said, "You know, you really ought to go to the doctor." And so, of course, eventually, after 5 days of only marginal hunting, maybe because I didn't shoot a couple of times because I couldn't bear to stand, I at last decided to go to the doctor. Back into my truck, and by this time, a strange thing had happened. The pain was gone. And it was only after I got to the doctor Steve explained to me, "Well, look, when you've been in that kind of a pain for about 5 days, your brain just shuts it down. It just says, okay, this guy's an idiot. He can't hear," and shuts the pain down. And so I thought, well, this trip to the chiropractor isn't going to be so bad. And I swear to God, I heard Dr. Steve kind of chuckling underneath his breath. He said, "Oh, it's not going to be bad, Beach, until you get on the table." And before we go to the next part of the show, I just wanted to remind you that the knockabouts will be here at 7 p.m., March 20th, and they feature Dr. Barb. So if you'd like her music tonight, by all means come back. I know I'm going to hear Barb and the Knockabouts. Now you can hear the song that's playing, and you know what that means. It has come time for the portion of our show that about half of you in the audience have been dreading, and the other half have been looking forward to, the sing-along. Now, in my experience, the half of you that are dreading this and the half of you that are looking forward to it are probably married to each other. So, for the sake of the one that you love, If you are one of those people who's been looking forward to this, don't try to force your loved one to sing. And for those of you who really don't want to sing because of the person you love, why don't you give it a try? Now, you've known this song since you were little kids. Feel free to join in as soon as we get this started here in a moment. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. One more time. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Woo! Take a bow, you guys. Thank you so